That's how they make them that way. They salt around the bulb.
They're cast.
Cast in salt.
You put the bulb in and then you pour in the salt.
Cast in salt sounds... Put it on the list, but only for Christian rock bands. Cast in Salt is a Christian rock band for sure.
Is there like a Bible story about that or something?
The Bible talks about salt a lot, and casting is a thing they do in the Bible a lot. So Cast in Salt is very it's biblical as shit.
I'll take your word for it.
Biblical as shit. What's up, everybody? It's the What If Podcast. My name's Ryan Copper. That's Spencer Worth Davis over there.
Is.
What's up, man? We're you know what? We're a day late and $1 short.
Thanks for accepting that as a response to your question.
Yep, I just kept rolling. I was like, I don't know what that was, but I'm gonna keep it moving. We're a day late and $1 short, and we appreciate y'all's patiences. And Spencer and I live very busy lives, and every once in a while, and by every once in a while, I mean maybe for the second time in like 3 fucking years, we're putting out the show on a Wednesday instead of a Tuesday.
Yeah. Just a heads up, it's probably gonna be the same thing next week. Sorry about you.
On our production meeting.
Yeah.
You know what?
Look, I got a show coming up in a couple weeks or a week and a half. Friday the 31st.
Oh shit!
At First Avenue.
Oh geez, Rick.
And our usual podcast recording night became the only time that we can rehearse for our show.
So I'm getting shitted on.
Yeah.
And so are all of you.
Well, it's true. Look. At the end of the day,
yep.
We love all of you, and we also owe all of you exactly nothing. So you're welcome for episode 165 of this free thing we've been doing for 2 years.
And let me be clear, nobody was shitty about this, which is great, and we appreciate you all very much.
One person commented on Facebook with just an unacceptable lemon grab GIF.
But that's done out of... You're not putting an unacceptable lemon grab GIF unless you're making a joke.
Let's hope. Several people responded to our Instagram story and just said, okay.
Yeah, I saw that. Like, okay.
Thanks.
I think it's like, thanks for the heads up.
Yeah.
That good to know. I won't go looking for it tonight.
Anyway, here we are.
Here we are. What else is going on, man?
Oh, it's just the most.
The most?
Yeah, just the most.
The most is going on.
Just the busiest I've maybe ever been.
Lit.
Yeah, it's mostly good, but fuck.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Uh-huh. It's also...
Usually the winter is when I'm like...
shit.
Well, yeah, and then like about the middle of January is when I start thinking that no one is ever going to want me to do my job ever again.
Right.
Because I forget that like people in my industry don't really work during like December.
Well, it's also the time where we're just all, for sure, the most depressed we are of the year.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
lack confidence that the sun's ever going to come out again.
It's not.
And we'll never feel warmth again.
We won't.
And happiness is a thing that we had once, but we won't have that
no
again.
Longer. Yeah. And then this, I mean, all of those things have still been true this winter.
Yes.
But instead of like not having anything to work on and having all the time in the world to just think about all that stuff.
Yes.
It's been the opposite, and everybody wants stuff, which is great.
And it keeps you from thinking about how you're never going to feel happy again until you're happy again.
Yes, but now I just have a different set of problems instead.
There's that.
And less time to play Zelda.
Oh, sad.
I did actually carve out some time to watch television in the last week or so.
What'd you do? What did you do?
Have you seen Russian Doll on Netflix?
Mm-mm.
Oh, fuck, it's a good one.
Is it a show or a movie?
It's a show. It's an 8-episode season.
Is it is it like in episode 1 they very, very, very slowly take the Russian doll out of the Russian doll, and then in episode 2 they take the other set of Russian dolls out of that Russian doll?
No, it's not like that at all.
And then by episode 1 it's just the little teeny tiny Russian doll.
It's a metaphor, Ryan.
Very slow. 60-minute episodes. Pulling apart.
No, it's about a
removing
a woman who dies on her birthday. And then,
I like mine way better. I don't.
And then keeps dying.
I like mine way better.
And then, I won't give away too many things. Also, literally every episode of the show has a Harry Nilsson song in it. So I'm sold.
We've talked about Harry. We both like Harry Nilsson a lot. So all right.
Yeah, I haven't been that psyched on a TV show in a long time. It's great.
Oh, all right.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I also just don't watch new TV shows ever, so maybe they're all good these days. I wouldn't know.
I watched Watchmen with like relatively like mediocre expectations, and holy shit, they did a good job with that show. It's fucking awesome.
Turns out when you just have like unlimited money, you can make cool stuff.
Yeah. Turns out the streaming services might have, I mean, they've been kind of dicking us a little bit, but maybe they've got a...
Huh?
Well, just, you know, the whole, we've got to pay for fucking 17 streaming services to be able to watch it.
Yeah, but only if you want to watch like fucking Boy Meets World and
Boy Meet Me.
Not to hate on Boy Meets World, but I don't think there's a whole lot of demand these days.
I mean, there was demand back in the day, but I'm not like chomping at the bit to go watch fucking Sean fight with Feeney.
Fucking Feeney.
Mr. fucking Feeney.
You want to talk about a guy who got lost in the woods,
Let's
maybe?
Talk about what if you got lost in the woods.
I don't think he did, but
no, I think he lost himself in the woods, maybe on purpose.
So this story is a little different than the stuff we normally cover in that we sort of have 1/no sources, depending on how you look at it.
Is that true?
Well,
the primary piece feels it's all based on one primary piece. I should say that.
Yeah, so I came across this story on one of my favorite subreddits called Unresolved Mysteries, which when they're not talking about people being murdered, it's great. There's this long write-up by a user named Muflonesi. Muflon Lesney. Yeah, that. Muflonlesni. And
hat tip.
Yeah, they wrote up this summary of the story, and then there are two sources that they cite at the end. Neither of them are in English, though. One is in Czech and one is in Slovak, and I can't obviously read either of them.
I will say, though, the one that's in Slovak it's 28 pages, and every one of the pages of the 28 pages has like 5 citations at the bottom of it.
Okay.
So
any in English? Did you check?
No, none of them are in English. And unfortunately, this is not one of those PDFs where you can like copy and paste, because I tried to do that and tried to get some Google Translates of the citations and couldn't do that either.
No dice.
So
you can print them out and use the app version.
Print them out and use. Oh, where you like hold it over the yeah. I did not do that, but I have more faith in that being a true primary because of the amount of citations that are found throughout it.
Yes, I'm just saying we are relying solely on this one Redditor to tell us what those sources actually say.
Yes and no. There also is evidence of there was a Czech documentary made about this subject. In an effort to actually shine a light on it. There's evidence of that documentary existing in the 70s.
And I guess I'm not implying that it's a made up story. I'm saying more like we can't verify any of this information.
Yeah, I mean the other piece of evidence that I think is the best piece of evidence is that there's also there's a Czech guy who explores like paranormal things who has a YouTube account, and he actually put out like a roughly 20-minute video about this subject. It's like a mini documentary where he went to the places that this guy supposedly was, investigated about it, looked for documents, and like interviewed people and shit. So okay. I guess I say that to say like I think Czech and Slovak people like agree that this is a story that at least is documented to a degree in their history. It's just a lot harder to find on English Google, I guess.
So the story goes something like June of 1955 in northern Czechoslovakia, right along the Polish border, in Moravska Polora, maybe.
You fucking nailed it, dude.
Sure.
It's literally perfect.
Thanks. I didn't know you were a linguist.
I'm not. It's because neither of us would know different.
And it's this little border town on the northern border of Slovakia, southern border of Poland. And there are 2 border guards who find a guy wandering around in the woods who has no ID on him and either can't or won't identify himself.
Can't or won't.
He doesn't speak to them, but through gestures conveys that he is both mute and deaf, meaning he cannot hear nor speak.
Yes.
The only thing he has with him is a small bag, and in it is a knife, some food, and a razor, like a shaving razor.
I was about to be like, that's 2 knives, my friend.
A knife and a different knife.
A big knife and another little knife.
And the border guards think that this is rather suspicious and that he possibly has just crossed the border illegally from Poland. So they detain him and they take him into some police station. I don't know where exactly to question him originally. He eventually ended up in Prague, but
there's a nearby town from where he was found called Zelina.
Okay.
And I believe that's where they took him because there was immigration police in that town. So they wanted to go take, because they themselves, I don't believe, were immigration police. They were like,
I think they were like border patrol, something.
Maybe that is immigration police. I don't know. I don't know either.
It's also the 50s in Czechoslovakia, so I don't know how those things were structured.
Yeah, it is like a reminder here. We're 8-ish years away from the end of World War II, and there's like,
wasn't it 45?
No, I think the official end of World War II is 47, wasn't it?
I always thought it was 41 to 45, but I don't know history very well, so I could certainly be wrong.
Let me look.
Whatever.
Yeah, you're right. 39 to 45. My bad. All right, so we're 10-ish years past World War II, which I guess is plenty at that point for things to be different.
It factors into parts of the story, though.
Yes.
So anyway, he's detained and questioned, and in this questioning, he tells these immigration police through writing, because he can neither speak nor hear, that his name is Karel Novak, Karel Novak.
Which I did see.
Karel? Karel?
I was saying Karel, but also the English translation of that name is just Charles. And also, I read that apparently it's just like the equivalent of a John Doe. It's like John Smith, basically. Like, it's the most
extremely common. First and
if somebody in America was like Mike Johnson or something like that, like it's the most common name you could possibly have.
I'm gonna call him Carol because I like calling him Carol.
Okay, deal.
He says he's Czech and he was born deaf and mute, and he claims to also have memory loss.
Sure.
But tells them what he does remember, which is that during the war, his family was moved to Germany.
Yep.
And he was separated from his family and taken to a facility for deaf and mute kids in Austria. After the war, he was sent back to Czechoslovakia, where he was homeless and picked up odd jobs here and there.
Right.
One of which led him in the winter of 55 to some sort of, he was doing ski repair in some like mountain ski town.
Sure.
I guess.
That works for me.
He claims he got lost and ended up near the Polish border, which is where he then got picked up. Lots of holes in the story from the jump.
Sure.
Including the fact that it was June.
What's the weather like in June in Poland?
I mean, I'm sure if you go up in the mountains, people are still skiing, I guess. But he said he started there in the winter and then got lost, and now it's June.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. The police were skeptical of many parts of his story.
Well, I heard...
including the part about him being mute and deaf.
Yeah. And I read somewhere in some of this stuff that, like, they were skeptical from the jump. Like, the reason he got brought into immigration police was they thought he was either, like, a spy or someone trying to illegally enter the country. Like, nothing felt right about it from jump, which is why they obviously brought him in to interrogate him. But, like, they started skeptical, and nothing he told them made them go, like, oh, this is all legit and checks out.
Yeah. So they're skeptical of his story. And then also when they attempt to verify his story, they can't verify any of it.
Yeah, they can't find anybody who knows him. The places that he says he's been, they check with people. They can't find anybody who's like, yeah, we've seen that guy, or we know that guy, or whatever.
Yeah. So they move him to Prague, where he's held in custody for 6 months.
Which is so wild, because when you think about that, like, I mean, granted, yes, this is a different time, but like, you can't, I don't think contemporarily you can keep somebody in jail for not knowing who they are. Like, I don't think that's how that works. Can you?
I mean, legally here?
Yeah.
In 2020?
Probably not.
No.
In other places, does it happen? Probably, yes.
Does it probably? I mean, we illegally detain people in the United States all the dang time.
Well, that's true.
Just because you're not supposed to doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
We don't do it. Yeah, that's true.
Also, like you said, we're in Czechoslovakia in the mid-50s.
Right. 10 years after World War II.
Lots of different considerations than if this happened here in the US of A in 2020.
Yeah, you still got to have like issues with like defectors and war criminals and fucking like...
Which might come into play in this story.
Heyo.
So anyway, they try and verify like any part of his story, and they can't. So they take him to Prague, where he's held for 6 months and interrogated on like a daily basis. And the police also start interviewing refugees from World War II who were in refugee camps after the war. And they found 2 people who claimed to recognize Karel.
Yes.
One of them is also a man named Karel Cervenka.
See, it's like Mike. Bunch of fucking Mikes out here.
He claims that he met someone that he thought was Karel Novak on multiple occasions between 1951 and 1954 in a refugee camp in Germany. And he said that this Karel spoke Czech with a foreign accent and worked as a translator from English with the CIA.
Doesn't sound very deaf or mute to
so
me.
Not only does this dude, he speaks multiple languages and is working with the CIA, speaking Czech with a foreign accent. He didn't say English accent.
Yeah.
In a refugee camp in Germany.
Now, I think it's important with this one specifically to note that this is just a guy who said he recognized him from the refugee camp, and there was only one that they could find.
There were 2.
Well, the second one's from a different camp.
Oh, right.
I mean, that specific anecdote about the English translation with the CIA shit was isolated to that one person who said he recognized him.
Yes. The other person that they found who claims to have known Novak is a Czech refugee named Ernest Solkansky, who claims that he met Novak in a refugee camp in Austria in 1952. And he said that Karel had burns on his forearms and had them bandaged at the time that he met him. And police did confirm that Novak had scarring on his forearms, but Novak claimed that he got those scars practicing gymnastics.
I think you're doing it wrong, bud.
Is there I'm not a gymnast, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Do you use your forearms a lot?
Well,
to the point of scarring? What would that look like?
Yeah, the thing that I thought that was back in the day when they used to do the rings. There's moves in the rings where you like wrap the ropes around your arms and your forearms to like change your position and shit. So really? I could imagine you could get like pretty gnarly rope burn acting like doing that regularly. But this one, the reason I called out the inability to affirm the other one is this guy called out a super specific detail, like, oh, he's got scarred up forearms. I remember that, dude. Yeah. And they were like, hey, bro,
let me see your forearms.
Let me show me them arms. What them arms do? And he was like, yeah, that shit's real. So I feel like from that perspective, you go, okay.
He probably did see the same guy at least.
I mean, what are the chances of that, I guess, if it weren't?
He also gives us no real information about him other than he was in Austria in 1952.
And you could,
in a refugee camp.
Right. And I guess you could make the argument that if someone saw him at another refugee camp, like I mean, refugees were being transported from camp to camp all the time. Does it make sense if one guy affirmed his existence at one refugee camp? Is it likely that the other guy who says he saw him at another camp actually did? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't have enough of the context to say one way or to speculate one way or the other on that, I guess. It seems both plausible to me that maybe someone is being moved between refugee camps. If he's working with the CIA or government agencies, maybe he's working at different refugee camps.
Or in disguise at multiple refugee camps, or undercover, if you will.
It also seems a little bit weird that he would be in so many different places during that time. But like I said, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have enough context to even posture a guess one way or the other.
For sure.
The police were pretty sure that Novak was not disabled.
Yes.
Both based on their own interrogations and now some of the, I guess, witness reports they were getting.
I saw that one of the primary reasons they were just generally like not super in belief of this is in his writing, he was fluent and grammatically correct basically across the board in both Slavic and German. And to do that without having had the ability to speak or hear for your entire life.
Yeah, because he did claim that he had been disabled since birth.
He was since he was a child. So he wouldn't have even had the chance to like learn those written languages with any auditory component. Yeah,
and I don't know enough about brain and language development to know how accurate that statement is. Is it really
that difficult to accomplish? I have no idea.
Or like, it certainly doesn't seem like it would be impossible.
No, I'm sure it's not impossible, but I would imagine it's not nearly as easy and to accomplish like, writing like, I don't know, narrative or like conversational, like it would seem it's just difficult to pick that up without having, but he was fluent in sign language too. So I guess between the combination of being fluent in sign language and the written word, like maybe you were, but I thought that was interesting. And it's one of the reasons they said they didn't believe that he was in fact, somebody who had auditory issues. But then the flip side of that coin too was I also read that when they were interrogating him, they would be doing like good cop, bad cop, and a guy behind him would take like a fucking metal pole and like fucking bang on the door to try to scare the shit out of him.
Yeah.
To see if he
would just react.
And he didn't. Like he never flinched at shit.
Which I bet you could learn that.
I don't know, man. In like a high pressure situation, I don't know. Not expecting it at all, and somebody just fucking wails a chunk of metal on a chunk of metal.
I mean, jumping ahead in the story, he must have.
Well, let's get there.
Yeah. So the same linguistic experts that,
you're right, let's get there.
that the police consulted with claimed, like Ryan said, that it was unusual for someone to be fluent in multiple languages without the ability to speak or hear. They also claimed that not only was he like fluent, but his linguistic skills were, quote, through the roof, whatever that means.
Yeah, which again is like a relatively, like, it's kind of a nonsense thing, you know? Like it doesn't doesn't mean anything to me to say that your linguistic skills are through the roof. It doesn't mean you write well.
He writes good and other stuff too.
He do write good.
A psychiatrist evaluated Novak as well, and according to that psychiatrist, quote, Novak seems to be not only highly intelligent but also highly educated, which doesn't correspond with his claims. What they mean by that is that Novak originally claimed to have only spent 2 years in school, essentially, while he was in after his family got moved during the war.
Now we're talking. Like, now it makes way more sense for you to go, you went to school for 2 years, but you write like you have a college degree and like, you know, you have a vocabulary like that you can make arguments around being less fitting. You can't just be like, oh, his linguistic skills were through the roof. Like, well, no, now that you're saying he was claiming only having a certain amount of training, but was excellent at these things, like, okay, you're either a wonderkind or you're lying.
Or even like certain things like being well read is something that you either at the time would have been pretty hard to accomplish without having been enrolled in school.
Right.
Especially for someone that couldn't hear or speak.
Right.
So this psychiatrist actually recommended that he be institutionalized, which apparently there was a very low bar for in the 50s in Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
And instead he was released due to lack of evidence after 6 months in December of 1955.
So they were finally like, all right, well, this dude hasn't broken any laws that we can figure out.
That we can prove, yeah.
And we think he's kind of shisty and shady, but we also can't really prove that either. And also...
And if somebody doesn't break after daily interrogation for 6 months...
And we're bored of asking this dude the same questions over and over again, so...
Yeah.
Fucking fare thee well.
So they released him in December of the same year that he was detained. And after he gets out, he starts hanging out with a guy named Frantesic?
Sure.
Weiss.
Yes, Weiss.
Who Karel worked with briefly. And Weiss claims that Novak was very intelligent and extremely knowledgeable in philosophy, literature, history, politics, architecture, and economics, which again would point to him being pretty well educated at some point in his life.
Point to him not having gone to school for 2 years and repairing skis on fucking mountains
for the past 5 years
and doing odd jobs
or being like homeless. Do we know? I couldn't find anywhere how old this dude was, or like a range even.
I couldn't find a range either. The only stat I found was that over time spent with Weiss, Karel revealed that he was older than originally assumed, or maybe.
But we don't know what that is,
No,
right? Because if we look at his story, which is that his family got moved during the war, so early 40s probably.
Yeah.
And he was enrolled in school at the time, so he's got to be teens at most.
Yeah.
Let's be generous and say he's 16 in 1942. He's picked up in 1955. That puts him like mid-20s, late 20s at most.
If you look at him in 55, he looks like he is probably
late 20s, maybe 30.
Mid to late 20s. Yeah, maybe 30. He's got like a little bit of a receding hairline, but not much. I'd say maybe 30 probably.
So if his story is that he's been living on the street for the last 10 years and he's in his late 20s,
yeah,
that leaves no time for formal education.
Sure.
Past the age of like 17, maybe?
Sure.
Right? Like his story and his apparent level of education can't really
jive.
Both be true.
Right.
Anyway, Novak and Weiss start hanging out a lot at Weiss's home with his wife, and Weiss and his wife, Marika, think that Novak can hear. I wish we had more information about their interactions.
Yeah.
And both what those looked like and what led them to conclude that he can hear.
Yeah.
And Novak, I guess, eventually confessed to being able to hear.
And in the report, so a lot of the...
And speak.
Yeah. So a lot of the report that to go back to our earlier conversation about primary sources, there's a long like biographical write-up. That's the one that I said has all the citations at the end of all the pages. Mm-hmm. And that's the main primary source. That is written and has images from what is supposed to be like the case file that was created on this guy in Poland over the time of him like being basically continually investigated and multiple different groups and societies trying to figure out who the fuck he is or is not. So, yeah, I don't know why I brought that up. I guess I was saying that to say like the detail that's being included there is from that report. Oh, and that was to say that the part about him, the quote, that this is what I was going to get to. The quote is, "It was getting tiring to pretend I'm deaf and mute it was getting tiring to pretend he's deaf and mute for so long," is the quote from Vice. And the reason we have...
About why Novak eventually confessed to being able to hear and speak.
Right. And the reason that we have a quote from Vice is because we come to find out that Vice was working for the STB, which is the state security office in the former Czechoslovakia. It's the communist secret security police in Czechoslovakia that were active from 1945 until 1990. They're referred to as plainclothes.
Jesus.
So it makes the way the story like appears to work out is they let this guy go, but
they're keeping an eye on him.
Sent a guy to go befriend him and spend time with him.
Yeah.
To learn more about him.
Mm-hmm. Which apparently worked.
Which apparently worked really well. And this Vice dude is snitching on him to the secret police on a daily or weekly or monthly basis about this is what he's saying, this is what he's doing, this is what I'm learning about him, which includes the fact that, quote, he said it was getting tiring to pretend he was deaf and mute for so long.
Vice also learned that Novak was fluent in Czech, Slovak, German, English, Polish, Russian, and could speak basic French and Italian.
Now we're fucking talking.
Also sign language.
Now we're fucking talking.
So my guy's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No. 6, 7, 8, 9 languages down.
Now we're fucking talking, bud.
Fluent in 7 of those 9.
Here we go.
He also, that he being Novak, allegedly told the Vices that he's much older than he claims to be, and that he's the son of a crown prince of the Austria-Hungarian Empire, Otto Habsburg.
Cool.
He claims he was raised on a Polish farm, and after the war was brought to Russia along with all of the people who worked on that farm. He said in 1948 he went back to Poland where he was taken to court. Then he was released, worked as a servant, was selling stuff, got recruited into the Polish army, worked his way up in the Polish army. They eventually figured out who he was, and he ran away to Czechoslovakia, where he was picked up in 1955.
So he was hiding as royalty is his news story.
Yes.
He was hidden royalty that got uncovered for being hidden royalty and ran to another country. Which
explains one or some things. It explains to me how he would have been educated.
It does not explain why for 6 months you would be interrogated and by some measures, they say even tortured to find out who you are, and you would not for once say that that is who you are.
Yes, I don't know the I guess political
complications of this.
Yeah, potential political ramifications of
son
being
of the crown prince of the Austria-Hungarian Empire. Was Austria an ally in World War II?
Dog.
Ally or Axis? Let's flip a coin.
It also doesn't explain why you would have this like well-rehearsed deaf mute guy bit.
Sure.
That you could stick to somewhat convincingly for months at a time, or why you're fluent in 9 languages.
Right.
I mean, does the average royalty in the 50s have 9 languages under their belt? That seems a little excessive.
I mean, I obviously, like, I don't know average, but like, you probably got a lot of downtime to learn some shit.
I guess. Also,
they weren't.
I mean, I don't think any amount of Googling is going to give us like a full understanding of World War II right now.
No,
so.
I know. I just wanted to know, like, particularly if you were royalty in Austria during World War II, would that have been like?
Well, it depends on where you are too, right? Like being specifically in Czechoslovakia. But then, if that was an issue, why is that where he would have run away to?
Well, he might not have been running away to there as much as
that's
he
what
might have.
That's what he said, according to Vice.
Yeah, but he might have said that and been like, "I was trying to get somewhere else." Yeah,
he would have said that then, though, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think regardless, it doesn't explain everything.
No,
by kind of a long shot.
No. I have many questions still, if that's the full explanation.
Many questions, bro.
All right, let's see. Then
we lost that kid off the soundboard.
Which guy?
Many questions, bro.
Oh, the
Dubai kid.
Dubai kid.
Dubai kid.
Yeah, what happened to that page?
You got rid of Dubai kid.
Oh man,
that's an OG one. God damn. We also should have a lie is born for this one because this motherfucker be lying his ass off up and down. Oh, an OG hit.
That one's never gone away.
An OG
I don't know what
hit.
Happened. I don't know why I would have gotten rid of Dubai Kid. I got open spots still.
Oh man, we got to bring him back. He's
another day, another beer.
He's a favorite of mine.
All right, I'll find it. It's on my computer somewhere.
But motherfucker be lying his ass up and down this country.
Yeah.
Particularly when we find out that roughly around the time that he starts talking to Vice about the fact that, yes, he indeed can hear and talk, he just kind of goes full bore.
I found a folder called Dubai Was Lit. And there are like 12 sounds in it, but I didn't label any of them.
Well, how hard are they to get onto your machine right now?
I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Why you...
I love this
Should we do a quick derailment?
Don't tell my lawyer we kill people, man.
Yes.
Did I ever use that one?
Oh,
Fuck.
yeah, man.
I fucked up.
Dude.
Oh, yelling? You like yelling, woman?
This fucking kid. Oh, this guy needs his own page.
He for sure does. I forgot about all of these. I don't
think we've used a lot of these like ever.
Oh,
what?
Dude, there was a period of time where we were hitting Dubai Kid pretty hard.
This one,
yelling? You like yelling, woman?
I
don't remember that one.
What? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, many strippers, bro.
Yeah. He's telling his mom. He's telling his mom about all the strippers they found when they were in Dubai.
And his mom, bro. No, that alone is such a good bit.
No, honey, no strippers. Yes, bro. Many strippers, bro. So good.
No strippers. What are you talking about, freaky woman?
What are you talking about, freaky woman? Was a strong classic.
Who are you? Who are you laughing at over there?
This kid is so high. He's so high. Long shiz is also really good.
Freaking lit.
Show is freaking lit.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, motherfucker.
He's got a legit spit take over here. Ryan forgot the yeah, motherfucker was coming.
That shit is crazy.
I almost lost that whole swallow. Dude, the best part about that is
these are all getting loaded in right now.
It's funny because the motherfucker, it lasts.
Yeah, motherfucker.
It lasts just too long. Yeah.
The timing.
She was freaking lit.
I love that one, but it's hard to understand.
True.
No, you
Yeah, we definitely need that.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got.
Who are you? What are you laughing at over there?
Eh.
No strippers. What are you talking about, freaky woman?
We just gotta get the "what are you talking about, freaky woman."
Also, we could have grabbed the "who are you" out of there and used it every 5 seconds in this episode.
Who are you?
Good point. That can still happen. There's
Who
still
are you?
time.
Who are you? Hey, Carol.
No, many strippers, bro.
I love that one. I don't know how many applications it's gonna have.
Doesn't matter. It's too good.
I'm sorry. What?
Gotta bring that one back.
I'm sorry. It could also be used very well in tandem with.
He sounds sad though.
I apologize.
I don't want to hear Dubai Kid be sad.
That's true.
Yelling? You like yelling, woman?
Yeah, we're keeping that.
Don't tell my lawyer we kill people, man.
Perfect.
And
Oh, I'm sorry.
that one's better. He doesn't sound as sad.
Yeah.
That's a good one. All right. They're all in there now.
Perfect. Thank you
Carry
very
on.
much.
Yesterday-
Make sure you use "who are you" as much as you can for the rest of this episode.
Oh, yeah. I didn't label any of these. Let me make
Perfect.
sure.
Oh,
Nope.
I'm sorry. No, you don't tell my lawyer. Oh, yelling? You what? No strippers. What are you talking?
Oh,
I think I could do this by now.
Who are you?
There we go.
there we
What are you
go.
laughing at?
Okay.
All right, perfect. So to hop back on the train, we had to take a quick fucking detour, y'all.
It's fine. It's fine.
We had to bring back classics.
Who are you?
Got it.
Speaking of classics, there's 100 episodes of the show you've never listened to before on patreon.com/whatifpodcast.
In case you weren't already annoyed with us.
It's only $5 a month, and you go listen to 100 episodes you've never heard. Plus, you get an extra one every week. All right, back to the show. That was how we do a true derailment. Now we're back.
Hi.
Vice learns that not only does Carol start talking to him, but Carol apparently makes the choice to just start talking wherever in public, including like around people that they've hung out with that thought he was deaf because he only spoke to them in sign language in the past.
Broke the seal, man.
He broke the seal hard. And
he hasn't said shit in 6 months. You can't just say one thing and go back to silence.
yeah, I guess.
Bare minimum 6 months. This dude hasn't said a word.
And now he's just fucking. He's like
It's all out there.
He's like a fucking auctioneer, man. Just rattling them off. He feels so good about talking again.
Do people who speak sign language, like, are there must be like fast signers and slow signers?
There has to be auctions. People
Whoa.
sign language auctioneers.
Yikes.
What?
I just had never considered that before.
Yeah, of course that has to be a real thing, right?
I don't know. I just meant people's like speaking pace, but you took it a step further that I hadn't even considered.
Oh.
Even though we had just referenced it moments prior.
I was going to say, I just put like the two pieces of what we were talking about together.
You know?
It's all right.
I got there.
It's been a week. Yeah, so he just fucking sends it. Full send. I talk now. And
Another day, another beer.
apparently, the way that he defended this to the people he spoke to, including Vice, was that, well, I guess not. It couldn't have been including Vice because he told Vice that he was pretending. To other people, he claimed that he had been in a car accident and woke up from unconsciousness with the ability to speak.
That don't make no goddamn sense.
And that he struggled with pronunciation in the beginning, but learned quickly with a strange accent.
A lie was born.
There we go.
What?
Now, okay, so now here's where this story, I mean, obviously it's crazy thus far, but here's where this really gets crazy for me. If you are, I mean, already people have got stuff running through their heads, right? Like, is he royalty? Is he a spy? Is he a defector? Is he a war criminal? Like, who is this guy? Like, what is he doing? In all of those situations, at a certain point, you got to be like, my boy, this shit's going to catch up with you.
Yeah, that's what makes me like the spy thing doesn't really add up to me.
You can't just start talking and go, oh, yeah, I got in a car accident and learned how to talk, and not have somebody come knocking on your door and be like, I'm going to need you to come over here real quick and talk to me about that.
Right. It makes me wonder, especially with how few parts of this are verified or verifiable.
Yeah.
Like, was this dude, was he okay?
Well, I mean, that's also very much a theory around this whole thing is it also possible that someone was a brilliant
He's just
eccentric,
a smart dude who's not doing so well?
just a brilliant eccentric who doesn't have it all together and is consistently making up a new origin story or a new here's who I am today.
I mean, this whole story starts with them finding him wandering around in the woods and not being able to tell them who he is or what he's doing.
Well, the other part of this that is another theory that I think is also very valid is through trauma, you can develop things like dissociative personality disorder.
I guess that's sort of what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah. And so like there are also people who say like if he was in World War II or was potentially a recipient of some sort of trauma in World War II, did he dissociate in some way and create some personalities to escape from the whatever horrors he had to endure in World War II? If he was in refugee camps, like people in refugee camps recognized him, was he in a refugee camp and telling people that he spoke English and was working for the CIA? Could that have been a dissociative episode early on already?
There are lots of ways to become fluent in different languages too that don't involve either being a spy or being royalty.
Yeah, you could just be somebody who has gotten a bunch of education or lived in multiple different places or a combination of both. And
again, those specifics of this story are very hard to, or they haven't been verified in terms of like the only real source we have on him being fluent in 7 to 9 to 10 languages
was this Vice testimony.
Is one guy saying he was.
Right.
And it's a guy who, as far as we know, didn't speak most of those languages.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So is he going like, he told me he speaks a bunch of different languages? That could just be a fact he made up. Maybe he's fluent in 3 or 4,
or I've heard him
up
speak
the rest.
French, or what sounds like English.
I've heard him speak a language that didn't. I couldn't understand him, but it sounded like English.
Yeah,
or whatever. Or maybe he knows a movie quote or some shit like that. But
it just it's hard for me to get to a point where like any of the bigger this guy is someone important stories really add up.
Yes. But there's also, so in 1961, he gets arrested again because Karel has been I guess like showing a bunch of interest in military things in Czechoslovakia, which is where a lot of the spy stuff actually really originates. I mean, obviously it originates early on in the initial arrest, but apparently he takes up a new hobby of photography and then starts going around and photographing things like tanks and military buildings.
Well, he joined the Czechoslovakian army at one point too, right?
He did that too, yes. But I don't know.
Wasn't that how he was getting access to some of these things?
Maybe.
Was that while he was enlisted?
I guess maybe that's part of it. And people were like, hey, bro, why are you documenting all this shit? You shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. Because there are also reports that he appeared to have military training and like fairly advanced military training.
Yeah, because
prior to enlisting in Czechoslovakia.
Yeah, apparently he was like a fucking dead-eye shot.
Which, okay, I don't know anything about the military. You don't have to be a citizen of the country whose military you join?
I don't know, man. It was a wild time.
That seems like
step
one.
A lot of fucking people died in World War II. I don't mean anything by that. I'm just saying, like, a lot of countries were probably scrounging for as many people they could to like
12 years removed
ranks.
From the end of the war by the time he enlists.
Yeah, but a lot of young men died in World War II. They might be looking for any young men who are in the country who, you know, if you can demonstrate some intelligence and a dead-eye shot, like they're probably like, come on board, man. You actually want it? Come on in.
It just seems like a good way to get your own people killed.
It sounds a little reckless, yeah, but I mean, I don't know.
Anyway, I think that is how he was getting access to some of the things he was photographing, is that he enlisted in 57.
Sure.
And got access, moved up quickly because he appeared to know what he was doing.
Right.
And got access to some things that maybe it turns out he shouldn't have had access to.
Right.
Or that he had very specific interests in getting access to.
Right. After his arrest in 61, the STB, who again are the people that arrest him after being like,
check secret police.
Check secret police, and the people who are like, hey, bro, you acting weird again, fucking trying to take photos of military shit. You're going to jail.
Karel back on his spy shit.
Back on his spy shit. They arrest him and send him through a whole series of tests of psychiatrists and all kinds of shit trying to figure out his identity again. And they denied at the time. Now, granted, we got to have an understanding of where medicine's at, but they denied the fact that he was mentally ill. They said he wasn't psychotic or schizophrenic, and they didn't believe he had amnesia. So, again, I don't know what those tests are. I don't know what that looks like. We don't have a translation of the report or the biography that was written about the reports, so we're getting this third hand, but I don't know if you have any faith in that. They might be,
yeah, and we don't know the depth of it either. Is it like he's not actively experiencing psychosis right now as we're evaluating him?
Sure.
Or is it more in depth than that?
Sure. Right. Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Because obviously he's pretty with it. I mean, if he's able to, like, he's
doing all kinds of things.
Yeah.
He's making all kinds of choices. He's enlisting. He's taking up photography. Like, he's a relatively functional member of society to a degree.
Right. I mean,
and incredibly intelligent
to every degree, really, as far as we can tell, aside from apparently lying about many different things in many different ways,
making up a bunch of different stories about who you are and where you're from and what you're doing.
But his behavior is like fairly predictable.
Yeah, totally.
Where are we now? We're at 61, 62?
61, 62, after being arrested for doing weird shit in the army.
Here's what I was trying to find earlier. The Czech secret police in 62 had again, I don't know how accurate this is, but the summary says experts in anthropology and psychiatry examined him in 62 to try and estimate his age.
Oh, to try to like continue telling his story or figuring out more about him,
or verify any part of it, or like debunk parts of it.
Sure.
So I think this is the same maybe analysis that you were just talking about.
Yeah.
But they claimed in 1962, or they estimated in 1962, that he was between the ages of 27 and 35.
Oh.
Which the low end of that...
Say that again? 62?
In 1962, they estimated that he was somewhere between 27 and 35 years old.
And when he was originally arrested, it was 55.
55, so that would put him between the ages of 20 and 28 when he got picked up. Which would...
With the photo, with the mugshots,
which means that he would have been
him,
between 10 and 18, right? Didn't at the end of the war?
Yeah. 45 would have been the end of the war.
Yeah.
He does not look like a 20-year-old in his first mugshot.
So that photo that you showed me earlier where we guessed he was in his late 20s, that's from the first time he got arrested in 55?
The mugshot I showed you is his 1955 mugshot. I can show you his progressive mugshots if you want to see the other ones.
He seems older than 20 for sure in that photo.
This is him in 61.
Man,
that's not a 28-year-old.
That's 61. So this estimate would have him between 26 and 34 in that photo.
He's for sure not 26.
mean, it's so hard to say too, just based on appearance, because like he looks pretty rough there in terms of like his hair is all messed up. He doesn't look especially clean. His clothes are kind of messed up.
I guess the other thing that's tough,
let me see that one more time.
The other thing that's tough about this too is you don't really know how
hard has this dude been living?
That's the thing I was gonna say.
In some ways, like
he was a notable smoker. Apparently, he met Vice at a bar.
Especially in that third photo, like his face does look fairly young. Like he doesn't have many wrinkles or anything.
Yeah, but we're not looking at the highest quality photo.
I know, but I mean that could be a dude around 30 who's just been living hard, which this guy's been homeless for a long period of time.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy has probably had a pretty rough go of things.
Yeah.
At least at certain times in his life.
Yeah.
This guy was in refugee camps.
Yeah.
Again, allegedly. The high end of that range seems reasonable to me. That could be somebody in their early to mid 30s.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He's also losing his hair, or his hair is starting to recede, which I think makes him look probably older than he would otherwise.
Yeah, and we've all had friends who lose it pretty early, so maybe that's not.
I mean, plenty of people go bald or start balding. He's not bald, but start like having their hair receding in their 20s and 30s.
Right.
That's pretty common.
Right.
But then you also have the thing of him telling Vice that he's significantly older than he looks, or he's been implying that he is. Which
is also, again, like as a guy who is notably told a bunch of different stories about himself, like, is that true?
Right.
At a certain point,
but that seems like with what we're seeing and trying to run this timeline back.
Sure. More viable.
Him being in his early 40s in that photo in 1961.
Yeah.
Would make more sense, both in appearance and then like the other parts of his story lining up.
Yep. I'm with you.
That was 62 that they guessed he was between 27 and 35 years old.
Yeah, after he got arrested for being sketchy.
That was the same examination that apparently ruled out him being mentally ill.
Yes.
But we have no details about that.
Right. And that's when they sentence him to prison.
There's this weird wrinkle of him maybe being someone's long lost son.
Yeah.
Do we want to get into that at all?
I mean, there's another weird like rabbit hole of this where a woman and her daughters said that they recognized photos of Karel because this story had made news locally. As I mentioned, it wasn't until later than this moment, but the Czechoslovakia made some like...
His photo had been circulated in the press somehow.
They were trying to figure out who the fuck this guy was. And if he was a spy or if someone had a clue, they wanted people to go like, yeah, I saw that guy, or yeah, that guy was my neighbor for a while.
Or that's my son, apparently.
Or that's my son, which a woman ended up saying. And apparently when she came to meet him, she then denied that it was him after seeing him firsthand, and
he also denied that was his mother, correct?
Yes. But so apparently her son was arrested by Nazis during World War II and deported to Auschwitz. And so she saw this guy, was like, that's him, came and saw him, and then said it wasn't him. And some people said that, quote unquote, for his safety, she went after seeing him. She then said it wasn't him, but I don't understand the historical context again as to why.
What would be the potential danger of identifying him?
Of identifying him at that point.
Yeah, I don't know either, because that was the early 60s, right?
Yeah, we're in 61, 62 at this point.
I don't know.
So I don't know. That also potentially
seems more likely that it just wasn't
what it was. Yeah, that feels more right to me. But they sentenced this dude to 12 years in a detention center for being fucking sketchy.
Which
seems like a lot.
Again, I know we're talking about...
We don't have all the detail around, like, what was he doing? I mean, we know he was taking photos, but...
Yeah, he was sentenced to 12 years in a detention center for political prisoners. For doing what exactly?
I mean, again, like the only details we have is that when he was in the army, he was taking and keeping photos of things like tanks and like fucking locations of like military dorms and military buildings and shit like that. So they thought, I guess at that point,
he was then sending that on to someone,
or it was too sketchy for them to not believe that he wasn't intending to do something like that, and that, you know, that was enough for them, I guess, at the time. I imagine you're also in a culture of fear, right? Like you're just coming off of World War II. You're probably being like, sketchy enough for us, bro. Like go sit behind a wall for a while.
Let's not take any chances.
Yeah.
So he was released in 1969. So he only actually served 7 of those 12 years. He moved to a small town outside of Prague and starts working as a bus driver. But was apparently monitored for the rest of his life.
Yep.
And they kept trying to figure out who he was or what he was up to.
Right.
And that there was a documentary released in 1972 and a film based in 1976 that I think were, at least the documentary was government funded.
That was the one in 1976.
Oh, okay.
Or wait, say it again.
The documentary in 1972, I think, was government funded.
Yes, that's the one that went on TV, and it was literally created as like a way to tell his story, and people were still trying to figure out who he was.
Yeah, with the goal of like hoping someone would recognize him and be able to give some info about who he was or what he might be up to.
Right, and at that point,
which didn't happen, as far as I can tell.
No, it didn't. No, it never has. That's the craziest thing about this whole story, is that after with all this detail, all this data, these fucking Czech documentaries that were blasted out everywhere, no one has any idea who this dude is. If you were royalty...
And he died in 1981 eventually.
He died in 1981.
At what would have been... So in 1962, they said he was between 27 and 35.
So he would have...
add 20 years to that, basically. He would have been 47 to 55.
Right.
That's very early.
It is early. They said he had a heart attack. Yeah.
It's a little weird, too.
The other thing that they said was weird, which, again, who knows, but they said that when they investigated his house when he died, he was in possession of numerous books that were at the time prohibited without a list of prohibited books. And
smart people be reading books.
Yeah, but prohibited books, I guess.
Well, yeah, but
the report about his death from the STB said that it appeared that someone had already been in his residence to like inspect his home after he had died. But that they didn't find anything suspicious. However, it appeared some of his belongings were covered in a strange unknown chemical substance, and a radio transmitter that was advanced enough to provide connection to foreign signals was present in his residence.
Whoa.
Again,
you don't analyze that chemical that's on his shit?
Well, the thing that one of the points that's made, and by the way, like I just want to do a double hat tip to user Mouflon Lesney from Unresolved Mysteries, because they did a great job.
Mouflon Leslie.
They did a great job with this write-up in pulling together what data we have. But one of the reactions that somebody put forth out there was, you know, this report is being written by a secretive plainclothes police force that's job is information and obviously probably also disinformation.
Right.
So whatever we're learning through this stuff is like only as accurate as a secret police force's final report after someone's death that has then been released enough to have this biography written about this person allows for.
Yeah.
But the other thing about it too is, are you really getting play on national TV looking for the identity of this person if they're not consistently suspicious of your activities?
Oh, they obviously were.
Like, Right. Now, whether
it's
or
just
not,
how much, what do we...
whether there's any veracity to that suspicion
or
is impossible.
We don't know
to
what
determine.
they were suspicious of exactly either.
Right. Like, could this person have been someone else, or been acting like someone else, or been doing a different thing? Or was there other evidence that we've never seen and will never see because of that?
Certainly.
Might have ripped some pages out. might have blacked some lines out.
Sprinkle some stuff on his books before he leaves.
Preach.
Okay.
Well, tell us what you think about Karel Novak. If you want to, you can do that by leaving us a voicemail at 612-246-4614. Send us an email if you want at hi@whatifpodcast.com. We read them all. We love them all. We appreciate hearing from y'all. We'll do some voicemails next week. We got a backlog of those. We'll catch up on voicemails. Go to shop.whatifpodcast.com if you want to buy a poster or a hoodie or a shout out for a homie. Leave us an iTunes review. We love them and appreciate them. I don't know nothing else.
Once again, we solved nothing, and we sounded dumb along the way.
And that's exactly what we're here for. Breath and fuckery, my friends. Breath and fuckery. We love you guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Don't tell my lawyer would kill people, man.